Hi, in today's tutorial, we are going to have a look at Maven. So if you had a look at the previous videos, you saw that we were downloading all of these jars, putting them in the lib folder, and then uh, adding all of these jars in the build path. And so this is okay for small toy uh, projects, but when you're working on enterprise level projects or large projects, this list can become very large. So what Maven does is that it is a dependency management system. So these libraries are also called dependencies because your project is dependent on them. And Maven also does a few other things like mm, building the projects, uh, running tests while building, etc., etc. So let's have a look at Maven. Uh, and so the first step is to uh, install Maven, and you can just search for uh, Maven download. So oh, sorry for this. So Maven download, and from here you can just download the zip file. Then unzip it. Okay, so where did it go? All right, here I have it, Apache Maven. uh, and I prefer that in my D drive. I copy over this unzip folder. So since it's already here, I'm not going to copy it, but if you go inside it, inside the bin folder, you see the uh, maven.cmd file, and when we will run the Maven command, this is the executable that will be running. Maven itself is a Java program, and so you need Java pre-installed for this. So this is step number one. The step number two is to add Maven to your path. So uh, basically, if I open my command prompt and if I try mvn, which is this command, then how does Windows know where to look for it? So let's go to environment and system variables, and what you need is to define two folders. One is Maven home, okay, and if you look at the path over there, d colon program files Apache Maven, this is exactly what I have overhead over here. And then m2 underscore home. I will tell what this means a little later. So d colon program files m2. And so this is just an environment variable, but then inside the path, I have added percent maven home percent bin. And so basically percent maven home percent gets replaced by this value, and then you have slash bin after it. And basically just add both of this, click OK, and then you when you go to the command line, and so Windows can now look for the mvn command in that path. So when I say mvn, I should get a mvn output over here. So it's saying build failure. Just ignore it for the time being. So once this is done, all right, um, we we need to create something called a Maven project. So you can either do it by scratch, or you can in Eclipse or even Idea, we have this facility. You can just right click uh, and configure and convert to Maven project. Now, Maven requires something called a group ID and artifact ID. So we can uh, say like com.encrypt and then artifact ID is employee. And so this is nothing but, let's say, your first name and your last name, uh, to essentially give a name or a namespace to a Maven project. So let's finish this. Okay. And a lot of things will change now. So first of all, if you see, a file called pom.xml was created. Uh, this, remember, we gave our group ID and employee, and then there is a version and all of these things. So Maven automatically created all of uh, uh, these values in the POM file. POM stands for Project Object Model. It's nothing but a configuration that the MVN command can take to build the project. Now, excuse me. Now, Maven Maven enforces or requires certain directory structure by default. So let's go to our repos. These are employee repo, and if you see, I have source com over here. All right. What Maven needs is two folders. So let us say I can have main, and I can have a folder called test. Inside main, you can have a folder called Java, and then resources, and then you can have this same structure repeated under test. And I can just copy this main source code that I had inside my main Java. All right. And I have this resources over here. So I can just cut this file and take it into my source main resources folder. So I no longer need this. Okay. And I'll have to do a few things. So if you're creating a Maven project from scratch inside Eclipse, all of this will be automatically, sort of pre-created for you. But right now, me creating all these folders that Maven requires as a default uh, uh, serves as a serves to basically showcase you what exact directory structure is required, and also uh, uh, it serves to show you how you can convert a normal project into a Maven project. So I'll just go to properties inside my source. I'll remove this and add folder. All right, so I first need to refresh this. All right, the properties, I can remove, add folder, source, and inside this source main Java resources, and maybe also test resources. So these are now my source folders. And if you see, uh, the output folder has changed to employee slash target slash classes. So we'll have a look at this later also. Uh, and so this is done. Now uh, everything is neatly available. Uh, Now initially all our classes were getting compiled into the bin folder, but since we have now changed it to the target folder, and it actually happened automatically, uh, we no longer need this, so we can remove this. And I don't need, let's say, any of these. We'll just leave these. The key thing is, we have still not have a look at a dependency management. All right. So I can write something like dependencies. All right, and then dependency. All right. Okay. And we'll copy some of the values over here. Now let us say first we need MySQL connector. So you can search for MySQL connector. Then what we need, log4j 1217, and MySQL connector version was 8017. Then JUnit 413. All right, and we might not need Amcrest because it might automatically get added, but let us see. So let's first search for MySQL connector, then Maven, then jar. All right, and so if you have a look over here, this dependency definition is already given here, so I can just copy it. Okay, all right. Okay, so if no red flag is over here, it should all be fine. Then I need to search for log4j127. So I got it from here. We can add one more dependencies, and then finally JUnit 143. JUnit. All right, let's just search over here. JUnit 1.4.3. Now this is 4.12. Okay. All right, maybe this is the one. JUnit 431. What else do we have here? JUnit. Okay, let's see if we can do with this one. All right. Right. So if we say download is going on, and now there's a folder called Maven dependencies. So if you see MySQL log4j and JUnit came, and Hamcrest core and whatever this library is, these also came automatically because Maven understands that hey, one of these dependencies needs other dependencies, and this is the beauty of Maven, that it automatically downloads those other dependencies also, because each of these projects will have their own POM files also, which describe that these projects need these other dependencies. All right, so what happens to this lib folder? Well, we don't need this any longer, number one. Number two, in our properties libraries, we don't need any of these. Well, we need resources, we'll correct it. Okay, so add class folder, we can just say, hey, I need employee source main resources. We don't need this one. And if you see, Java is going to include anything in a main project, anything that's in test resources, main Java, main resources, test Java, GRE system libraries, and uh, 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 and Maven dependencies. All right, automatically in the class path. Contains duplicate entry. Well, okay, so we probably don't need this because Maven already includes it. All right, so there we go. Some issues in source. So add test. Okay, let's use the shortcut Control Shift O. Well, we didn't get anything over here. Okay, so here's why we are not able to import anything. Why? Because if you look over here, the scope is test, and so Maven gives or enforces this structure that anything inside the test is the test code, and anything inside the main is your main code, your main program. And since right now this class is within the main, and my POM says, hey, JUnit is part of test, and so it's not getting included in the class path. Let us see if we can move this to source test Java. All right, sorry, so just move it over here. Okay, and let us see if now we get the import. Well, not yet. Okay, so what I had to do was right click Maven, then update project, select force update of snapshot leads, update project configuration from pom.example, refresh workspace, clean projects. I had to check all of these and click OK. And then I have this version 4.12 test, and then everything became fine with my imports. Okay, so just a little nuance when you're converting a traditional Java project into a Maven project, but it is all fine. Now, so I no longer need my lib folder, and um, I get all of these things automatically. I don't need to download it. Now, remember that when we were looking at our environment variables, we had we have defined m2 underscore home. So what is this? So I go to d colon program files m2. And I guess uh, this also can be configured to use some other value, but this is the folder where essentially Maven is downloading all the dependencies. Right now we don't see anything over here, but let's see where all these files are going. Uh, okay, so m2 underscore home, this was a variable defined on my system for an earlier version of Maven. Apparently it is no longer required, but I still want to show what it used to do and how it is used or defined in the latest Maven version. So if you go into conf, so here's where we installed Maven, and within this the conf folder, and you open up the settings.xml. This is the file from which Maven can pick up its settings. And if you look over here, there is something called local repository. The default value is $user dot home slash dot m2 slash repository. Uh, so c colon users roman. Uh, this is the $user home, and then inside dot m2, and within that repository. And so you see all the dependencies that I've ever used are downloaded over here. And if you look over here, so we are using JUnit group, and within that artifactory JUnit and 4.1.2. And so JUnit, within that JUnit and 4.1.2, and here's the jar. And here's the corresponding POM file also. So this is how Maven automatically downloads all these jars, adds them into the class path, and you just need to define what you need in the um, POM file, and all the dependencies are automatically managed. Um, so now you can also right click and run as JUnit test. So right click, run as JUnit test, everything ran fine. And I also want to show you now building and running tests using Maven command line. So we can just go to training and employee, uh, and I need to type the command Maven clean. So what Maven clean does is that it uh, deletes this target folder. So d colon, okay, I'll just start from here. So see, I don't have a target folder right now, and then I will do Maven install, but you can also do Maven clean install. So you're giving two instructions to Maven, which is clean and install. Okay, so build failure, no compiler provided in this environment. Okay, I think I need to define my Java version, etc. over here. Alright, so I have these things that I'll copy from my previous official project. So I'm telling Maven which compiler version to use and what's the source version, and basically what's the target compile version. Let's try this once again. No compiler is provided in this environment. Let me try to fix this one. Okay, so what's missing is um, to tell Maven where to find the Java compiler. So we'll open up the environment variables once again, and the way you do it is to create a new variable called Java underscore home. And if you look here, here is where my JDK is installed, right? So there is always a JDK and JRE. JRE is for running Java programs, and JDK is for compiling the Java programs, and also contains the JRE subfolder. So we'll copy this, put it over here, do OK. And now remember that uh, your shell is already started, and so this shell does not know about the new environment variable. So we'll just do an exit over here. We'll try the shell, try to open the shell up once again, and let's see if we do echo or set java underscore home. All right, so let's try this in Windows shell set java underscore home. This variable is defined, but anyway, our uh, git bash shell should have picked it up. uh, will it be echo dollar java home? Yeah, all right. So I'll go to my repository. All right, and let's try our command once again. Mvn clean install. Okay, so see, it compiled one source file over here into target classes, and then combined one source file into target test classes, and then it ran one test and then built in success. And if you look at it, the output of this is employee001 snapshot.jar. So in our POM file, our artifact name is employee, that's we got, and the version is 0.0.1 hyphen snapshot, that's we got over here. If you can have any version over here, let's say if we want to have version 1.2, just do maven clean install once again, and you'll see employee 1.2.jar. All right, so we have learned how to install and use Maven, and as you can see, it does three things so far. We've seen three things. One is it manages all the dependencies automatically. Uh, Second, it enforces a certain source code structure, which helps in code readability also and organizing your code also. And the third thing is you can build uh, your source code and run the tests together using command line. And the output after all the tests is run is this jar file. And just like you're using JUnit jar or log4j jar, etc. in this project, uh, similarly you can use this jar in other projects. So one final thing, we have not seen committing the code in a long time into git. So I'll just do git status. I have all these deletions, modifications, additions, whatever it is. I'll do git add minus a, git commit minus m, uh, converted code to maven project, and let's see if this works. Git push. All right, great.